Okay folks, this is my new Acme gear. It's custom built for me and I've been out testing it. It is truly amazing. I don't think the spring rate is right quite yet because it's supposed to have an 1.25 inch reveal at static, and I have about 1 5/8 inches. So I think we got to change the springs out. But once that's done, it's going to be a game changer for me. I had to make these little custom weldments to adapt it to my airplane. I basically took some Maule oleo streamlined tubing and cut it and inserted 4130 5/8 18 thread here and rosette welded it all the way down into here. It's also welded up into here on both sides, and then I TIG welded the bushings in down low. Well, I've watched enough other people do TIG welding to know that my skill level at TIG welding is not at a professional level, but I'll bet the value of my airplane that it will hold up in any rough conditions. So I'm not worried about the welds. They may not be that pretty. So it's adapted for my airplane. And then up above, I had to take their top cap and bore it out so that I could put an eyeball bearing in there. Because on Maule gear, it's got to be able to flex in all directions, both upper and lower. I can't really do it with one hand, but this one up here also rotates. So it's got to be able to move in all directions, a little different than a Cub, because it's not in alignment with the Cabane V like a Cub is. The other oleos that I had on my airplane were custom built by me, and unfortunately I just couldn't get away from having a bounce when I'd land, and so I'm really loving these Acme shocks. If you like my videos, please take the time to subscribe and hit the like button. So this first test that I put the shock through is basically a 12+ inch diameter log perpendicular to the runway. I hit the log with both wheels, but the right wheel takes the largest portion of the log. It does bounce me into the air, but what would you expect by hitting something that's 12 inches above the ground level? From my perspective, sitting in the seat, it really wasn't even an issue. I think the biggest issue was I caught my tail wheel because I was a little too tail low in my wheel landing, and that really bucked me. I'm really looking forward to getting Acme Aero Fab's tail stinger on this airplane. I'm waiting for their flat plate. They sent me the wrong plate that will adapt the tail stinger to the Maule fuselage. There's a bunch of cows out on this island right now, and so all these places that I'm landing have cow crap all over them. Unfortunately, if you leave cow crap on your airplane for any length of time, it is a real pain to get it off. It's like some kind of special glue inside their intestines, I think. This next place up I call the bayou. It's pretty hard to get a smooth landing in the bayou, or from what I've found with my airplanes, I usually bounce going down through here, and I was pretty amazed at how smooth I was on the Acme gear landing this particular spot. Unfortunately, it was drizzling while I was out flying this particular morning, and so there will be times when there's water on the lens. One of the first things I noticed while watching the videos was how much the gear is tucked in compared to my other gear. It was much more extended, and so I'm not sure yet how that's gonna affect landing steep side beaches. Time will tell if it makes a difference or not. I didn't land any steep side beaches this particular day, so I don't have anything there for a data point. Shorty has a pretty good lip right at the beginning, and I always try to time it so that I'm not catching that lip. This particular landing was one of my better landings out on this little spit that I have landed many times over the years. What I noticed right away on this new shock is my wings are just so much more rock solid when I'm touching down, landing undulating terrain. I'm not rocking back and forth. I'm not getting bucked. I'm basically touching down, and for the most part it feels like my wheels are staying attached to the ground. The only evidence that I have that they aren't always staying attached to the ground is the same video that you're seeing, but it feels like I'm just staying stuck to the ground so much better. Again, I've landed all these spots so many times with my old shock that I know pretty much how I get bounced into the air and what to look for, and all these spots are just like almost a non-issue now. I can almost go in and not even worry about how I'm touching down, and I stay stuck to the ground. I know from my own experience that the stock Maule oleo is basically almost worthless. The oleo that I made for my airplane was a substantial improvement, and this shock is truly a shock absorber. You don't get the rebound with it. It sucks up the big stuff with ease, and these places that I'm landing were pretty hellaciously rough before with my shock, and now they're just not even an issue. It's just amazing. This next place, Crossways on Sand Island, I've probably landed it more than 100 times over the years. The first time I ever landed it was in my M5, and I had watched Lonnie do it with his Super Cub a bunch, and I thought, oh, I can do it, no problem. Well, whatever line I picked was the wrong line, because it was touch and go whether I was going to be up on my nose or keeping it right side up, because I was getting bucked all over the place. Anyway, today, coming in here, I swear I couldn't even find a bump. From Crossways, I take off and I head right into Crossways 2, which is probably not even a half the distance deep. I would say it's got 250 feet of usable, and it's as rough or rougher. And again, it's pretty much not an issue. I even kind of missed my mark on it as far as touching down right on the end, and I still got stopped and didn't get bucked around too bad. I take off from Crossways and I head for Cottonwood, and I'm going to use all the spots that basically we've been using for gear testing down on Cottonwood, and we're going to see how well the shocks work in these rough places on Cottonwood. I really wished I had some ground camera crew filming this. The GoPros don't do it justice. They never do. And I would really like to have someone with me filming from the ground and actually getting that perspective. But from a planning standpoint, the GoPros are a beautiful thing, because I can go out and I can shoot all this video all by myself in a 1 hour to 2 hour segment and wrap it up into 10 minutes for you, the viewer. Most people don't know this, but the extended gear that I'm running is the first set of its kind. I went through quite a bit of trial and error. Eventually, Airframes Alaska, well, it was originally Alaskan Bush Wheels, started producing it based on my design, and they've sold quite a few sets over the years. I've included video of this same spot at the very end of this video, so if you stick around until the very, very end of the video, you can see me in my Cub and then Lonnie in a 2,000 pound Super Cub. This was by far the roughest spot of the day, and you can tell that from the video, but from inside the cockpit it actually did not feel that bad. I'd be willing to bet money that a stock Maule shock and gear would fail in landing ditches, and the guy would wreck his airplane. I think you watched about an hour of my takeoff and landings here condensed down into a 10-minute segment. There was probably 20 landings to start with, and I think I whittled it down to about a dozen. I'm not sure I've done the Acme Aero Fab shock justice. It is one of the best mods that I think I've done on any airplane. So if that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is. I know one thing, I can hardly wait to get back up to Alaska this summer with Bushwacker. The places that I was landing are going to be a breeze this year. Well, I don't know if I've ever bragged about how small my airstrip is. I know I've complained about it. I wish it was longer. I wish it was wider. I wish it was easier. But it's what I have to work with, so I keep using it. And I've been using it since 2009. So I'm going to claim right here that it's the smallest airstrip in use in the world. If you have a smaller one that you want to show off, smaller than 350 feet long, with a no-go-around approach, one way, you got to get stopped no matter what, send me a video of it and I will post it to my YouTube channel. Would love to see it. A little bit about what's going on here. This spot's been dug up so that we can test out different configurations of aircraft landing gear, wheel, tire pressure, shocks, etc. See what works the best. This didn't happen to be the whole video of Super Cub landing in ditches, so if you want to go back and look at the whole thing, just look on my YouTube channel. I got a lot of feedback in the comment section on this particular video, 2,000-pound Super Cub landing in the ditches. And a lot of people said, oh, there's no way that airplane weighed 2,000 pounds there. Well, I will guarantee you that it did. I saw him load in the lead in the back seat to bring it up to 2,000 pounds. He wanted to test the airplane at gross weight, and the only way to do that without having passengers and a bunch of gear is to load lead into it, and that's what he did.
That's all, folks.